Hiyo!
Hello. Welcome to Yeah, But Are You Happy? The podcast where we talk about the intersection of mental health and creativity. I am Katie Stone. I'm a comedian and copywriter living with bipolar 2 disorder in Los Angeles, California. Um, I recently learned one of my coworkers listens to this podcast, so now I'm anxious saying things. Lane, who's my co-host on this
Hi,
show?
I'm Lane Ingram, and I am back. I was away for the last two episodes, and hey, I'll tell you why that was. But first, let me just say my name is Lane Ingram. I'm a therapist in private practice in Austin, Texas, and I'm also a client. No, I am also someone who's on psychiatric medication, and I've struggled with anxiety most of my life and depression at times as well. And more recently, a lot of family stuff, which I'll go into in a little bit more detail. But yes, and we should introduce, the fancy talk shows, they bring on the guests later. We like to just have our guest right here. So she's right here right now. She's Austin acting legend, Amber Quick. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here. Longtime listener, first time caller.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do listen and watch, and we appreciate that so much. And anyway, it's an honor to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything you'd like to say to the Twitch stream or podcast listeners out there?
Oh, I'm just happy to be here.
Okay.
I'm nervous. I am legitimately nervous, which is has not been a common feeling during this pandemic, and so it's like I'm sweaty, you know.
Well, tell Noah about the flood.
I should have borrowed a headband.
No reason to be nervous. We're gonna have a lot of fun. I've been talking a bit. Katie, how are you?
I'm doing well. I was just going to say, Amber is here. If you've been listening to this podcast and you're like, they're still talking about body image, is this just a body image podcast now? The answer is there are 52 weeks in a year that one must fill if you're doing a weekly podcast. And our bodies are a huge percentage of our bodies. I mean, people forget that our brain, it's just up there. So where was I going with this? Oh yeah, Amber and Lane and I actually talked after one of our earlier body episodes. Thank you so much to Nathan Soul, our previous guest, for his vulnerability, because that led Amber to reach out, and we are so she had, can I just say, Amber, listing your credits today while we were promoting, I was like, this is a level of legitimacy. No offense to the rest of our guests, because they all have really interesting lives and credits. Absolutely. But I was like, this is some primo, voted best actress in basically every poll that at some point or not once. Hey, I'm not blowing smoke. I'm just saying at some point you've dominated everything in Austin.
Oh boy. Yeah. And my glasses fog up. There we go.
But we usually, as you probably know, Amber, and as Lane probably knows, although he hasn't been here in a million, we start the show off. I'm just bullying the shit out of my good friend who's been going through it.
Just missed him.
This is how I feel welcome. This is how express love.
Fuck, Lane, do you want to start with your mental health check-in?
Oh yeah, sure. Yes, my glasses also fogged up because I'm so close to such greatness, Amber, and also Katie. Katie, you're great too. You, I mean, in the polls at our house, you come in very high. You,
oh yeah.
Sweet. No, but I'm happy to be back. I was gone for 2 weeks because had just a bunch of family stuff pop up, and just it was kind of I texted Katie and she couldn't have been nicer and more of a just amazing professional carrying the load. So thank you so much, Katie, and also for sending me Tiff's treats. Like the moment I texted her to say, hey, I think I need to take a couple weeks away from the show. I had this horrible falling out with my family after things had been going so well for like 3 or 4 months. And so that was very sweet. And the Tiff's treats were fantastic, by the way, Katie. So Yeah.
They
Thank
now
you.
sell they now sell frosting that you can send people along with the Tiff's
What?
treat. I
Mhm.
couldn't decide whether that would be a welcome but also you can only send like 40 at a time. So I was like, I won't be like, please get diabetes. I do want you to live a long time.
That is, yeah. It's like, how do you send someone sweet treats after they've just done 4 body image episodes in a row? No, I'm just. But it was great. We love you. It was funny in the note you put in there. It was like I think you wrote something in there like, I hope Tiff's treats isn't like a cliche or
I
something.
called it hack.
Hack. That's it. And you have no idea how much Chloe and I love. We actually pay the yearly membership fee so that it waives the delivery charge. So it
Mhm.
yeah. So if you order it, you have to order 70 dozen a year. No, you have to order a bunch for it to even out. Anyway, let's just say we like it at Tiff's Treats.
Tiff's
Um,
treats, we are accepting
yeah.
sponsors.
Yeah.
Mm. I
Yeah.
think they started in Austin, didn't they?
I think they only exist in Austin.
Well,
I
they
don't think so, because
Oh, really?
I just sent some yesterday for the first time in my life.
yeah.
And when I was Googling, I think like they've got Atlanta, maybe some places in Colorado. It seemed like
You're right.
Oh,
They're all over.
franchised.
Yeah, they're all over the Dallas Fort Worth area. They're like
amazing.
wildfire up there. So this actually connects back to my family because it's all about me, guys. I don't know if
Please.
you, but my my family. We actually over the years I have tried to be a good boy, and for various special occasions, Chloe and I have sent them Tiff's treats on many occasions. We actually a few weeks after the one of the big falling outs we had on Facebook last year, it was just one of these horrible coincidences. I had to unfriend my father on Facebook because he wouldn't stop trolling me, and I had to do that. I'm not joking. 9 days before his birthday, and I had to do the very awkward thing of unfriending my own father, then letting things simmer down for 9 days, and then like 3 dozen Tiff's treats arrive at his house, and I texted him happy birthday, like kind of hoping like we could like come on, can we start? So I've sent let me just put it this, my family has never sent me Tiff's treats once, and Katie Stone sent me Tiff's treats, and it was a glorious day. But I'm sorry, I'm beating around the bush here. I had a phone conversation with my mom a couple of weeks ago where I was simply getting an update on how my grandmother was doing because her health has been kind of up and down lately. And we'd had maybe 3 solid months of decent conversations, my mom and I, texting back and forth, getting check-ins about my grandmother, and all of that had been very pleasant for I'd even had a couple of exchanges with my sister, and I thought things were getting better. Out of complete nowhere, my mom starts rehashing stuff from 6-7 months ago, stuff involving Facebook and Black Lives Matter. I mean, stuff that I've mentioned on the show before. She just dredged up all of this stuff, and this conversation just went off the rails immediately. And it was just a lot of me kind of listening. I didn't know if I should hang up on my own mother. I really couldn't get a word in edgewise, but she just started screaming and screaming at me. And by the end of this call, she had told me to not call them, to leave them alone, to not attend any of their funerals, and like essentially disowning me. And she called me all sorts of horrible names and accused me of all sorts of like horrible things. Um, a lot of it stemming from a belief that Black Lives Matter is some sort of Muslim terrorist organization trying to overthrow the United States government through like socialism and terrorism, basically. And and then she hung up on me. So I tried texting and calling my father. He did not and still has not responded. I was able to coordinate a phone conversation with my sister the next day, and that did not go well. And in that conversation, I tried to relay to my sister, like, do you know what our mom is telling me? I don't know if you're aware of this, but she's telling me I'm out of the will, I am disowned, this and that, and all of these horrible things. And I was kind of hoping my sister and I could reach some sort of understanding. I was hoping she would maybe say, really, mom is saying all that? That's really over the line. We are family. We can work this out. This must be a misunderstanding. I found out that my sister was essentially in agreement with my mother. And I found out that my mother, father, sister, and that's my only sibling, have essentially decided that I am some sort of evil, anti-American, unpatriotic socialist trying to destroy America. And
you're only 2 out of 3 of those. No, I'm just
I know. And if they only knew just all of the horrible terrorist shit that I am up to.
Right. Like, at least get it right.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, Chris McKeever, friend of the show,
currently in our Twitch room under 2 different aliases.
Wow.
Yeah, Chris McKeever texted me after I made a very attention-seeking Facebook post, and a lot of love was bestowed upon me, and I really, in a very real, genuine way, it meant a lot to me, and I did feel better after getting some stuff off my chest. But Chris McKeever texted me right after I posted it, and he said, I love you, but your mom brought up some pretty cool stuff, to be honest. Okay. So yeah, so Chris and I mean, we weren't Muslim terrorists before, but we're getting pretty close now. We're anyway.
You hear us, NSA? Spend your time investigating us.
Exactly. But yeah, so that's what I've been up to. But I'm doing a lot better now. I'm feeling the love. I'm loving my friends, and my extended family reached out with a lot of love and kind things to say. So that was really, cousins and aunts and uncles. So that was really nice. And I really am feeling a lot better in a weird way.
I hope that, I don't know. Wait, can I ask quickly, because I did start the documentary because Sanjay doesn't read obsessively about it. Does this, do you feel like they've been influenced by QAnon at all?
I don't think they know what QAnon is, but they keep referencing that Black Lives Matter. They really have it out for Black Lives Matter. If there is a QAnon that is that's just about like maybe they've gone to some QAnon website, but they've only clicked on the tab that says hate Black people. I don't know, or hate Black Lives Matter. And it's so they believe that Black Lives Matter was started by 3 Muslim women who are terrorists, and I want to say that's not true.
Progressive. We can terrorist too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. But so, yeah, you've been in a funk. It's been an intense, is funk a dismissive word? A deserved, earned funk. You're feeling a little better.
I'm feeling much better, yeah.
Sweatband back on.
My sweatband is back on. Katie, you've been wonderful. I've been looking forward to this Amber episode. But in a weird way, this is where I guess I'll be, this is me being vulnerable. It doesn't take a lot of vulnerability to talk shit about your family, but the vulnerability is this. I was feeling very low. Yeah. And one of the things that was bothering me most about all this was I felt very isolated from my own support system. There was a lot that I really wanted to say about what I've been through. And I'd like to say it. I didn't want to just say it to my friends, but I wanted to reach out to my extended family, but I didn't know how. And it's a big family. And one of the things I feel like my immediate family does is that they isolate you from the rest of the family, and then they control the narrative. And by them controlling the narrative, and I've seen this happen, you get further and further marginalized from not just your immediate family, but even from the extended family. And I just thought, I don't know what they're telling everyone else, but they might just be saying that Lane, oh yeah, we had to disown our son because he's a terrorist. And it's like, I can only imagine they're not telling people an accurate version of what happened. So I just wanted to get a bunch of stuff off my chest. I made this long post on Facebook, and I felt so much better after I did that, especially after so many wonderful friends and extended family reached out. And then that also makes me feel weird. I'm like, so I'm just an attention-seeking Facebook fuckface. But I swear to God, I felt so much better after doing that. It's a weird thing.
Can't believe I didn't. I haven't seen it. I guess I was working that week or something. I'm gonna go
Listen.
back and read it later.
Katie missed it.
I
Well, the
haven't
Tips
been on
Treats makes up
Facebook.
for it.
I haven't been on Facebook in 7 years, and I read it.
There you go.
I found it. I'm bookmarking it.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
did you
I
not
won't
see
read
it?
it right now.
Let me just say that was not attention seeking. It did not read to me at all as attention seeking. I will actually Will read it to me. It You were like, we're already so isolated right now. And this was something that maybe would have been a conversation in the lobby or in the parking lot at ColdTowne that would
Right.
have given you the space to talk through this. But we don't have that right now. Like that is your option of being able to, like, I so appreciate how open and honest and vulnerable you've been with all of this, because it puts in perspective how much we deal with family dynamics and how much the narrative can be spun by dependent on what news sources they're
Yeah.
relying on, and like even if they weren't specifically following QAnon, how that narrative has infiltrated so many other sources, right?
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that, Amber. That really means a lot to me. And I really you and Will texted some very nice, encouraging things. Yeah, although yeah, Chris McKeever, it's kind of hard to top the your mom said some pretty good stuff, actually, really thought-provoking. But no, I really appreciated that, Amber. Thank you. Yeah. Katie, how's it reading now? Is it
Just
looking
wants
all
to
right?
know what your family thinks of Lil Nas X.
See, this is if my family were, if they were just a little bit better sports, wouldn't it be fun to have them on and ask them questions like, what do you think about Lil Nas X? Just be a sport,
Hot
Tina
take.
saying would pay for the reaction videos of Lane's family watching Call Me By. Sorry, Amber, I totally cut you off there.
Which one?
Oh,
Call
no.
Me By Your Name?
Yeah.
Oh man,
That's great. But no, I have been looking forward to tonight, so I'm happy to be here, and I'm excited to shift focus now to Katie, and then eventually Amber. I can't wait to ask Amber just all of the most grilling, hard questions that America must know. But Katie, how about you? How's your check-in?
Good. Nothing special here. I am out of vaccine quarantine. Probably gonna come visit. We'll probably be able to do a one-on like an in-person episode sometime in the next month or two, because I think I'm gonna come to Austin for a week. But Lane's getting out some nice booze. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah,
Sorry,
everything's been going
this
well.
is-
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I'm going to interrupt now. I just want to say on the air, because I said it off air earlier, this was a very nice benchmark whiskey that Amber and Will brought over as a housewarming gift. And so I'm drinking it in honor of them tonight.
Benchmark, we are seeking sponsors.
Yeah.
That's right.
If we mention a brand.
Listen, you can't beat the price tag, and it's delicious.
I have socialized with people for the first, I mean, I moved to LA right before this, but I do have coworkers I get along with. I went out with my coworkers on Monday night. I've made plans to hang out with people who I've met digitally because there are a lot of people in my situation. So that's been nice. Only thing that's been up is just like now that I don't know. Okay, actually, I wonder if anybody else relates to this. Now that everything's reopening, I'm realizing how much of my issues mentally, self-loathing wise, come from social anxiety. Like I don't replay things in my head if I'm alone the same way I replay things after an event. So I haven't been in therapy since around August because it became illegal for me to continue seeing my therapist. And to be honest, we had such a special connection. She recommended I take some time off so I wouldn't immediately compare. That makes our relationship sound creepy. It was normal, but we did get along particularly well. But anyway, I have a psychiatrist here and she's been urging me to check out their referral list. So I haven't done it yet, but that is a goal for this week, is to start seeing an LA therapist, even if just every other week, even if more casually, just because I do come home from social events and think I'm the worst person. And then I ask myself why I feel that way. And the answer is not great. I think I remember the bad stuff. I remember the times I interrupted people. I don't remember the times I listened to people. Anyway.
I relate to that. I think a lot of us relate to that. We fixate on the things that we botched. And speaking of botching, here's a joke I came up with while you were talking, and that is an LA psychiatrist with an Oakland therapist. Anyway, that was the worst
I could
joke.
see an Oakland therapist, couldn't I?
But also, how did it become illegal? What happened?
Oh, so you can't see someone out of state, I think. You have to be practicing in state. And so they had some like emergency regulations due to COVID. So she was able to keep seeing me past when she would have been pre-COVID. But ultimately it was like, okay, we can't call these transition any, like we've been seeing each other weekly for 5 months since you left. Sorry, this didn't happen. Police of therapy.
And we should mention your therapist's tax ID number is
she's the best therapist in the world, and if you come for her, you come for me. But I will never say her name.
Can I tell you, this is a silly story, but just one of these weird COVID things that happened is I had a client in Austin. We loved working together so much, but as part of their career goals, they moved to LA. Katie is my client. We have a conflict of interest relationship, but this client moved to LA right before the pandemic. And we had this heartfelt, emotional termination session, this final session, a goodbye. And then COVID happened, and 3 months later they emailed me and they're like, hey, I had to move back to Texas because I had to move back in with my parents, so can we just keep it? So we've still been doing session. We only took 3 months off in this whole time, and it was just one of those funny, like, goodbye, best of luck to you, I believe in you. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, now it's just a Wednesday,
and then you just walk side by side out of the
No, that literally happened to me. Like, I wrote her this long heartfelt card, and I like talked to Javi about what kind of gift I could get her without creating any sort of legal conflict. So I like gave her some like
I'm so sorry.
and shit.
Chris McKeever has the all-time bet. Has Chris ever told you the story about what he got his there? We should ask him in the chat if it's okay to tell the story, because it's absolutely incredible. But no, what did you get your therapist, Katie?
Oh no, I just got her like chocolate, just like little things to show her that I liked her without like but nothing more than $2 or whatever. Because I know I can't like give her gifts. But anyway, yeah, and we both cried. I think we hugged, even though I don't think we had ever previously touched. That would be inappropriate. And then yeah, like 2 months into quarantine, she was like, seems like you might need some more sessions. Yeah.
You need sessions so bad. I am willing to go to jail for it. Let's resume session. No, so Chris, if Chris is the one who just said it's fine, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Chris, well, Chris is a great storyteller, and he tells me this story in a way that he knows will shock me.
Mhm.
He just out of the blue is like, "Hey, Lane, so what do you think of this? I got my therapist a giant coffee table book of erotic photography."
Oh no, it's art. It's
Oh, erotic art. Sorry,
yeah.
erotic
Oh,
art. My bad.
Dorian, I know.
Yeah. What's that? What?
Both know this story and I don't.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Please keep going.
Yeah.
We'll have Chris on as a guest since evidently this is the Chris podcast. Go on.
This is the Chris fan podcast.
Yeah.
Um,
It's I if I'm not mistaken, it was the artwork from the Alpha Channeling
I don't even know.
Instagram account.
Oh, really?
I believe it was Alpha Channeling, which is
Okay.
lots of like line drawings and
Okay.
colored
And
pencil artwork and
okay.
yeah.
He tells me this, and my jaw drops, and I'm like, "Oh, dude, that sounds like inappropriate." And then he's like, and he totally knew I would say something, and then he busts out a little more information, and he says, "Well, she told me that was one of her favorite artists." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And he goes, "Guess how much I paid for it?" And he said it was $50 on the nose, which is the line of anything over $50, it becomes unethical to accept. And so he knew exactly what to do. So Chris, he's a smart cookie. Anyway, if you have thoughts or questions about Chris, please give us a call at 512.
If you're a listener who doesn't
Mhm.
know our group of friends and want to know his last name, go fuck. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. This is cool though. People do this on podcasts.
People do. Yes.
Now, Amber, we're going to turn our attentions to you, our guest. First of all, everybody needs to know Amber's wearing a very cool shirt. It's plaid, it's got embroidery. I've seen this artist at fairs. I don't know their name. Who's on your shirt? Is it Prince?
That is Prince. And it says a little WWPD, what would
Oh
Prince
my
do?
God.
This
Yep.
is from, I mean, while we're just plugging and searching for
Yes.
sponsorships, right? Triple Z Threads on South Congress. Um, the first time I ever came to Austin, it was 2007, and the guy that makes these shirts had a little tent, little pop up set up on the corner out on South Congress, and um, and I like I have whenever I go to visit someplace, my move is to always get a container for my memories. Thank you, Aunt Janie.
Mm.
That is something that's functional, you know, like instead of getting like, well, I mean, I guess most of them are functional in some way, but instead of getting something that's like plastered with like Austin, Texas, Music City, you know, like I'll just go find a dress that I really like, or like, you know, like I've got a dress and a purse from New Orleans, and they're the containers of my memories from that trip. And so I was looking for some kind of something to take home with me from my first trip to Austin, and I saw these pearl snaps with this embroidered. It was like, I think they were like 2 6 shooters. This was 2007, so like, you know, and just fell in love with it. And then we moved here many years later and saw that, like, just walking up and down South Congress, went into this store and I was like, was this the guy? This is the guy that, and then so now every time that a friend comes to visit, I'll take them to that store because it's
Oh.
just, they've got like amazing, like super queer friendly art and all of these pearl snaps, and everything's really um I'm blanking on the word. Thank you, pandemic brain, but everything's just a little naughty and funny.
Yes.
Um and so I took a friend that was visiting from Alabama. We went in there, and it was not long after Prince had passed. And from like as soon as I stepped in the door, I saw it in the corner of the store, this shirt with the pattern. It was like halfway through the rack, but I could see on the front what the pattern was. And I was just like, take all of my money.
Yes. Ah, she will be mine. It was
Yeah,
that.
she must be mine.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes when something calls out at you, you just got to go for it. And that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Amber, I got to say, just to make you feel as uncomfortable as possible, you came up in conversation with a mutual friend. I shall keep their identity secret so as to not embarrass them. But I'm going to embarrass you, Amber, because we were talking about how amazing you are, how cool you are. And they were saying, boy, every time I talk to Amber, it's hard for me to concentrate because all I can think of is this is such a cool person. I'm so thrilled that they are even talking to me. And so, anyway, just want you to know you have that effect on people. How do you do it?
Lots of trauma.
Nope.
This is what you're doing to Amber during our mental health check-in, is saying, how comfortable are you with bragging?
Right.
I'm sorry. I don't know how to talk to humans.
No, the answer to that is not comfortable at all. I too was just recently in one of my first social environments, and um was able to meet people that I've known about and have seen perform, and like so excited to meet them, and then they said nice things to me, and I literally went so there's that.
There's that. Oh. Okay, yeah, I'm supposed to be
Like
making it
making my
easier.
plate of food and just like like
Okay, I'm supposed to be making your job easy here, Amber. Just how about this? Let's just start with how are you doing right now? Just
right
start there.
now. Oh, right now, my cup overfloweth. This is a beautiful, um, this is just wonderful. Like I have so much love and respect for the two of you, and this podcast that you've built, and this community that you've nurtured, and so to be able to be here doesn't even truly feel real. Um, I might cry a little bit. That's okay.
So happy to
Um,
have you.
yeah. Yeah, so I'm like I'm just loving every minute of this. I in general, like Will and I got our first dose of the Moderna vaccine a little over a week ago, and that has lifted such a weight off of this past year, like realizing how much of just that fear of death. And like I, one of those things where I feel like I'm comfortable with my own mortality, but then find yourself in a situation like this, and then you realize like, oh, I have been terrified for a year. um and so where I am right now is um far better than where I was a month ago. I think, weeks ago even. I was really struggling, really struggling, of like just white knuckled death grip on
Mm,
anything that I could control. Like
mm-hmm,
what can I control? Oh, nothing? Great.
mm.
Like, yeah. But I would say right now I am feeling happy, healthy, loving being here with the two of you, and yeah, in a much better place than I was A week ago, yeah, I see. Like, and the pandemic is a long way from being over. I see in the chat, and like that's another part of it. But just even getting that tiny bit of relief that now that I have at least my first shot,
Yeah, I don't think that
should
should.
I get sick,
Yeah,
the chances of me dying are fairly slim, or at least greatly reduced, right? That it's like we're not running out in the streets and like, licking doorknobs, but
Right.
just to have that little bit lifted is makes such a huge, huge difference. I didn't realize how much of that I had been carrying.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like now
I
we can at least like you can get together with other vaccinated people and it's
Mhm.
considered low risk.
Right. I mean, and even still like I still want to continue the standards and practices that we've set in
yes.
place for our household, like I don't
Sure. Sure.
want to necessarily change that anytime soon. Um, but yeah, just having just the tiniest little bit of security against it has made such a huge difference.
Absolutely. Well, and that's something that's like, I don't know. I hope that the idea that it's sorry, I don't necessarily think that the fact that the pandemic is going to continue going should have any impact on how you on the relief you currently feel. Those are two feelings you can hold
Yes, right, right.
simultaneously, because you can recognize your privilege and also recognize, like, no, I mean, I think part of recognizing your privilege is being grateful for it. And so, yeah, exactly what you're saying. Like, oh yeah, I am grateful that I get to be one of the people who gets to feel better now. If you weren't, what it yeah, but it's not actually a big deal. I got the vaccine, but it doesn't make any difference to me. I actually would prefer I didn't, is like worse.
Sure. Right, 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 right. But yes, it's also still very true that like with all of
Yeah.
the experience and that it's
Yeah.
but also thank you anxiety because I can't run out and just like get back to business as usual. I spent 2 months living in dread of what getting back to business might look like. You know? Like
Right.
just wanting to appreciate this tiny little sip of relief that I've gotten, but
Right.
then also understanding that it's going to take so many baby steps for me to get back to just my regular brand of social anxiety.
Right.
Rock
Right.
and
It's
roll, baby.
yeah, I want to keep I would like to keep working from home. I think I just recently, just in the last week, I think I've come to that realization. I don't know how realistic that is for me, but my mind is already starting to toy around with that idea. But I have been wanting to add, I mean, Amber, you are a professional actor. You you are and a great professional actor, award winning. You have just embarrassing you. I mean, sorry. No. My question to you would be, in quarantine, in the pandemic. I mean, what has happened to you, your work, your colleagues? What has that been like for the life of a professional stage actor?
Yeah, it has been fairly non-existent. Well, I will say that I've been fortunate enough to be involved in a handful of readings that have been very precious. But it's mostly been it's still at the end of the day, it's still a Zoom call that gets dressed up a little fancy. And so, so like I have been so fortunate to be able to privilege I, I've been fortunate and privileged enough to be able to to shift into a more production side position. And so um, I've spent the last 6 to 8 months working for a media production company here in Austin, Make Every Media.
Oh,
That
awesome.
yeah, it's been so wonderful because it's all made up of artists and musicians and actors, and that like we're sort of this collective that so um I've been able to shift from making my living as a full-time actor, performer, musician into going more into editing and producing, and that has been such a blessing on so many levels because I love the company and I love the people that I get to work with and I love the work that we get to do. And but the work of the professional actor right now is non-existent. I mean, in the last year, I think I've done 6 or 7 readings, some with more support than others, some with, like I got to do a reading for the Pittsburgh Public that was incredible. And like they shipped me a ring light and a webcam and a box of props and a printout of the script. Um, and we spent a week in rehearsal, um, just like it felt like we were in the rehearsal room. And so the experience for me was so close to the real thing. Like it felt like I was in the room with these people and we were, the energy exchange was almost there.
Yes.
Um and they did a beautiful job with the edit and but at the end of the day, it was still a Zoom recording, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's just been, it's almost like that part of me has been, oh, I was going to say sitting on ice, but actually that part of me has been freed up to do some shadow work, some self work, um, in ways in the last year that I've never had the time or necessarily the energy to do,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of nice. That's been a really good gift. But yeah, like I mean, anybody that gig economy, anybody that was working at a theater, dependent on live performance venues, like it's been a struggle, and I'm so thankful that I've been able to find ways to make that work because there wouldn't have been assistance for me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing that I'm thankful and relieved to be able
Yeah.
to sit in.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
Uh, absolutely. And I don't know. Yeah. Again, thank you for expressing gratitude for that because I think that's
mm-hmm.
something we talked about briefly on last week's episode, but like just the anger I'm capable of feeling at people who overlook that fact, that
Mm,
performers are going to be one of the most lastingly impacted, and people who were responsible in their business ownership are going to be the most lastingly impacted.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's like as a comedy person, and I think a lot of the comedy people we've had on were not dependent. I'm trying to think of most of the people we've talked to on the show. I don't know that we've talked to anyone whose like livelihood depended
Mm,
upon getting paid to go
True.
up on a stage.
Sure.
And so yes, Amber, you're kind of, I think, if I'm, unless I'm forgetting some, but thank you for joining us and kind of bringing us that unique perspective. And if you don't mind, Amber, do you mind if or actually, yeah, I'll put this in your court. Would you be willing to share with us, Amber, kind of what what led you to shoot us that email a few weeks ago.
Oh
That
my
we
goodness.
were very thrilled to receive it. Could you tell us a little bit about that? Whatever you feel comfortable sharing about that.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, a huge, huge thank you to Nathan Soul for his willingness to come on the show and be so open and honest and vulnerable and um in to call back to what I was saying earlier about kind of having the space freed up for myself to be able to dig more into some healing work, some shadow work. Um, I for so for me, there's I have 25 years of uh trauma and PTSD and that's that I'm only just now truly at the point where I can even talk about. Um, and that's sort of the first step to being able to work through it. And, while it's something that I've lived with for so long, um, I'm very much, oh, I might cry. It's okay. This is just what I do. Um, that it's very much, uh, uh in the infancy stages of processing for me.
Yeah.
Um, and and I'd never fully connected how much my career um, has been informed by that trauma and that
Mm.
PTSD. Um, and and so it's like it's there are just so many layers to it all, but hearing Nathan talk about his show experiences and um mm, when he was talking about, I believe he was in Chicago and someone hired him to be the Cupid baby or the New Year's Eve baby,
Hmm.
um and just hearing him describe that and like it it just opened so many doors for me, um because it's so basically pre-trauma, I was 13. My plan was to um, go to Auburn University, War Eagle, on a swim scholarship because I was a competitive swimmer, and go pre med so that I could be a physical therapist. Like locked and loaded, that was my life plan. And then had like the very, very condensed version of a very, very jacked up, so wrong story. Thank you, Alabama. My brother was arrested when he was 18
Mm.
and was a young man with that was experimenting with drugs, and that led to oh god, this is one of those stories that's just impossible to yada yada yada, but the people that he was associating with, um they were complicit, involved in a double homicide capital murder,
Mm.
then had we later realized had set my brother up to be essentially the scapegoat for that. And
Mm.
so then they all point fingers at him and say he's the one, he's a Satan worshiper, he's a, I mean, it was just like the freaking crucible. Um, and so my brother was arrested. He was charged with capital murder. The DA who was prosecuting his case, um, she was just after a death penalty conviction because it would look good for her, and she and the judge were pretty tight, and so then the judge was the courtroom antics, like it is heinous. My brother was eventually sentenced to the death penalty, spent 4.5 years on death row, and was finally acquitted 21 and a half years later. He was released into this task program in the state of Alabama, which he's still in 4 years later. Has no business being in. All he has wanted was to be able to come home and live his damn life. But he is now at least home. He can't leave the state of Alabama while he's still in this program, but he's at least out of the worst part of the system, you know. So rewind 25 years ago, I'm 13. My brother gets arrested. It's decided that I should go to live with my cousins in Georgia for the remainder of the year. And so I moved there, and I have to, like, so I took my first drama um, because I had signed up for computer programming first, and that was full. Home ec second, that was full. And then just in this weird, like I was and I mean, and I still am fairly introverted, but like I was the shyest, quietest, introverted little baby. And like in some kind of weird, just gonna write it as my third choice to like feel like I'm doing something dangerous, I wrote down drama, and got that was the elective course that I was put into in the ninth grade, and um, did my first play. Equal Frights played the sexy witch in the ninth grade. Thank you. Um, and then my brother was arrested, and then I got transferred, like just overnight was scooped up and moved to Griffin, Georgia, to live with my cousins. And there I went from my junior high, which was eighth and ninth grade, where I was kind of, the upperclassman, and then moved into an actual high school in Georgia where I was the freshman. And they had an actual theater department. And so then they were trying to move me into a program, like move me into a schedule that was as similar to the one that I was being taken out of. And so I got moved into this theater program that was incredible, right? And like gave me this sort of safe space. Like I feel like that's sort of where I started learning how to be someone else, because the whole thing was, we'll put you in this program and we'll put you in this school. Nobody needs to know about what's happening in Alabama. Like, just, oh man. Oh, damn it. It's such an involved story. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm just,
You're doing great. You're
Yeah, don't
doing
worry
great.
at all.
Yeah, don't worry at all. This is what an incredible, powerful story. And these are the kinds of thing I have. You have been kind enough to share parts of this story with me. It's been a while, but I can remember, having drinks at the Grand. My favorite place, my home away
Currently
from
open.
home.
Go visit the Grand Austin.
I know. I want to go back to the Grand. That actually, if you don't,
We're actually sponsoring them.
That's the only place that ever, when I walked in, would be like the usual.
Everybody knows your name.
But the last night that I went out right before the pandemic, I was hanging out with you, Amber, and Will, and it
Yeah.
was like the
And
last
Nathan and
night where
Aaron,
things felt
actually.
normal. What's
Yeah.
that?
I said, and Nathan and Aaron were there
Oh,
too.
that's right. Yeah, Nathan.
It was my first time meeting Aaron, and yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And we would have, you would be kind enough, you would tell bits and pieces of this story uh, over the years and getting to know you, and it's just a mind-blowing story. This is the kind of stuff they like make documentaries about, like
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
what Making a Murderer or something, that Netflix documentary. This sort of just a horrible situation where a person gets caught up in the gears of a broken system, and then just the lives that just get ruined as a result of it, and just the ripple effect that it can have. And so your what remind me, what did you say the age difference was between you and your brother?
He's 4.5 years older than me.
4.5 years older. So
Mhm.
he was
He
what
was
did you
18.
18,
Mm-hmm.
and he was in prison for 21 and a half years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ. And so this makes this horrible impact on the whole family, of course. And yeah, it forever, would you say it forever changed the trajectory of your life, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I like was involved in this. I went to this high school in Griffin, Georgia for 9 months and finished out the school year, and then like came back for my sophomore year and started back at my old school system, now moving into the high school. And by that point it was like, okay, theater, acting, that's what, like, this is what I want to do. um and so then just got like, screw sports, because that was, I mean, I loved swimming. I was a really good swimmer and loved that it was just you against a clock, that like, yes, there were other people swimming next to you, but really at the end of it, it was just your own physical capability versus the clock. Um, Played volleyball and basketball and like was okay. But that, like it's also the worst I've ever been bullied in my life. And so like I was like, okay, maybe I'm good with sports. Maybe I'm good on sports. I don't need that. Um, and so went just decided to fully dive um into theater and this world, because I feel like, because I had been crafting my own narrative and like doing such a good job of like I this is also, I feel like, why the imposter syndrome is so strong and so real with me, is that like my way of coping was to um lie about who I am and why I'm there, and um anyway, so I just dove headfirst into this world of theater where you got to put on wigs and like experiment with different presentations and gender expression and personalities, um and was like, yes, this is what I want to do, because it was such a safe space. There was a script. I knew what was going to happen. Um, and then was like, okay, I'm going to make a career out of this. Um, and I, uh, I remember like, just to try to like bring it back, because I feel like I've just completely derailed the whole point of this evening.
No, 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 not at
But
all.
so my senior year of high school, we were having auditions the um for the high school musical, which was Dragon Tale, which Griffin uh um did, I believe, in high school. Um So I wanted to audition for Princess Rosebud because she had the best song, and went to my theater teacher at the time, who is probably my age now, um then, and I said, I really want to audition for Princess Rosebud. Like, what do you need to hear? What are you looking to see? Like, tell me what I need to do to secure this role, basically. And she just grabbed my arm and she said, "Oh, honey, girls our size don't get cast as ingenues."
Oh my God.
And this is like right in the like in the worst of it. I think maybe my brother this is
Give us
like
our
in
social security number. We
in
are
the
coming
thickest
for
of
tonight.
my trauma. Yeah, right, right. That like when all I was trying to do was just keep myself alive and had found this thing that brought me some joy and was like, I want to play that role because she has the best song. Like I want to sing that song.
Yeah.
And just the ease with which she was just like, "Oh, oh honey, girls our size don't get cast as ingenues."
Jesus.
Right? Oh my god. It's crazy. And then my first professional job was playing an ingenue, but it was for an outdoor theater. And so it was like, "Oh, okay, that's why like you can get away with bigger women on stage if it's an outdoor theater because."
What? Yeah. This is so crazy. This is such a, my head is spinning. I don't even know where to begin here.
I
This,
know.
what a horrible. So, okay, this is, you're how old at that point where the comment was made?
Oh
Oh,
god.
honey,
16 or 17.
16 or 17.
Spring.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. I may have been 17 by that point.
Oh my goodness. And this, would this have been the first time your body has been commented on in the acting sort of like setting?
Yeah, it's um yeah, because at that point everything that I had done had been like community theater.
Okay.
I mean, well, and it was still friggin' high school theater.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
but yeah, it was the first time. I mean, because there's like, yeah, that was the first time that I had been informed that I was incapable of playing the ingenue because of my
Holy
size.
shit.
That like that
Holy
there
shit.
was any kind
Yeah.
of
There
restriction.
was some, yeah, this is not for
Mhm,
you. Oh my
mhm.
goodness. Yeah. I know we've talked about on the, yeah, as the man on the show, I feel it's up to me to explain how women get treated. No, I'm just going to pause for a moment. But this is so fucked up. Katie, help me out here.
Yeah.
What, this is fucked up. What?
Yes. If I can just say, Alex in the chat, uh, too tall and too heavy
Yeah.
was the implication by.
Yeah. No,
Wow.
yeah, and Amber, obviously, I mean, I think this is kind of an ongoing thought process throughout this. Is just like for some reason the generation above us of women was
Mhm,
taught this lesson so thoroughly
mhm.
that they are incapable of sympathizing with us when we're even just trying to be body positive.
Right.
Um, and so it does hurt me to hear that. I mean, I think several women who have been on this have expressed that like our mothers have given us similar messaging.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't know, it's so horrifying because on one level it's like, well, fuck you, lady. You should have let this is a child. First of all, we don't need children to
Yeah.
be sexy in the way that Hollywood has assigned sexy.
Right.
Humiliating for her. But also, I mean, I recognize on a practical level humiliating for you because those are the feelings you felt and that's all that's valid. But
Yeah.
um Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's fucked up. I don't want to like press this too hard because obviously I think everybody that we are having listen to and watch is like, this is wrong. Also, and I mean, I don't want to say that this is I don't want to invalidate this in any way, but you have had more success than that bullshit comment imply. I've seen you play lead in multiple
Sure.
plays in which you were amazing. But based on the initial email you sent us, it does sound like that is a sentiment that has echoed throughout time and maybe even has, I mean, what I have written down, ask Amber if it's freeing to be a head with no body for the past year. Which we all are, and it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing
Absolutely.
pants.
Oh, I'm wearing my Late Night with Stephen Colbert.
All
No
right.
sweat,
Yeah, baby.
all pants.
No
Those are
sweat, all pants.
Yeah. Uh
great sweatpants.
yeah. Yeah, that's like there's definitely been some freedom in that. But like yeah, it's one of those things that has so I feel like that moment in high school um with with her comment just sort of set me on this path of being like, okay, I'll never get cast as this or that. But and then for the longest time I spent years mad at myself that I was too fat to play certain roles, but not fat enough to play the fat roles,
Mm,
which is so messed up, right? That
Absolutely.
like I'd read a role and be like, oh, but they specifically thought like, oh, so, all right, well, that's probably not a good fit for me. And so I probably shouldn't go and everything, you know? Yeah, it's just crazy. It's just crazy how much like the yeah. Yeah, I don't even know where to like I have so many so many BS stories about the things that like the success of a show has been pinned on my size. Like I was doing a one woman show for several years that before we picked up a new leg of the tour where I was told that that like they just can't wait, but they think that the show will really be a great success if I would just lose 10 pounds. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I lost the 10 pounds and like did the same damn show that I was doing the tour before, you know? Um, but like that was really the clincher for them was like
yeah.
my being 10 pounds heavier. And it wasn't even that I had gained 10 pounds. It wasn't like,
Right.
oh, this is a costume issue.
You
It
know,
was just,
yeah,
we want you to be 10 pounds thinner than you are right now.
that is crazy. And this is the sort of thing I think a lot of us probably assumed there were things like this going on, but it is so interesting to hear the real story. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, because, you see the way, you see the double standard of the way women get treated, of course, in society, but also when it comes to like on screen and on stage. And it's like, if, if you're not thinking at some point, like, isn't it interesting that like Russell Crowe gains weight and still plays leads in things, but like, can't think of a good example, but like whoever,
Well,
Jane Doe gains weight and can't work in LA anymore. And it's like, does it, hopefully that thought has crossed somebody's mind, like, like there's a double standard here, and there has to be chatter going on behind the scenes where, yeah, there's just a pressure placed on women on the stage and on the screen that is maybe much exponentially more intense than it might be on men or something, right?
and I don't know. Sorry, there's a just before we redirect to Amber. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I also want to validate. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yes. Yes.
this is something that you had mentioned in your initial email, and I was just like, as a producer for stage, as a producer and
Mhm.
director for stage, the idea that as a stage performer, anyone in the audience recognizes 10 pounds with the lighting and the distance is so laughable.
Yeah.
It's so laughable. And also, I mean, I posted, you didn't see this because it was on Facebook, but obviously, you've probably heard before that you look quite a bit like Emma Stone. You guys have similar
Oh,
faces.
right.
And she to me is an example of when I first saw her on screen, she was in super bad. She was probably a size 6. She was a normal sized woman, still on the thin side, very beautiful. And I felt I was around her size. I was not even a mid-sized woman. I was pretty thin, but that felt very validating to me to see on screen. And now I see her on screen and I once again feel alienated. I not to say, I mean, I know this is forced upon her, but it's like, regardless of your success, if you can achieve success as a female lead and still be expected to be thinner. Sorry, this is not going anywhere.
Yes,
But
it is. Yeah. I'm following. I'm
um
following. Yeah.
I don't know, like, do you feel, and this is all just, we're just kind of asking you to be vulnerable. You can say no, or this is still being answered on the day to day, so fuck you. But how do you feel like that interacts with your mental health? How do you feel like that interacts with your eating on a day to day basis?
Oh, sure. I mean, I feel like um the bigger consequence for me is that I don't I play in very safe spaces, right? That like I find directors that I trust, I find costume designers that I trust, and like work with producers that I trust, and like that the consequence is more. I mean, there's sort of this constant, like the thing that I'm realizing is that there is this constant sort of governor that I put on myself, that I don't have an agent. I don't really put myself out there in more commercially successful ways, because I have bought into this idea that I'm not worthy of that success, right?
Mhm.
And so, but also because fuck you, like I'm not going to let you tell me, I'm not going to let you dictate how I get to live in my body. And so I've got this, like I keep it all really close knit. And one of the things that I love about Austin is that there is so much opportunity within this community that I love and trust, right? And so um like yes, it bleeds over into my day-to-day functioning and like my relationship with food, but also I love my body, and I'm a healthy, strong woman.
Yeah.
I am a like my favorite move anytime I can't open a jar is to get it, take a deep breath, and yell, "I am a strong, capable woman." Like I have faith in myself and my body and what I'm able
Yeah.
to do, right? And so it's more like I keep myself so shielded from so many experiences,
Mhm.
um because of the ways that people have taken claim over my body, because they're somehow involved on an aesthetic level in a production, and so then they think that they get input on this skin sack that I walk around in, right? And so so I feel like it's more affected like the actual trajectory of my career more so than my day-to-day well-being. I mean, of course it's had an influence, right? Um but yeah, I've definitely avoided a lot of what would be natural steps in this career that I've chosen. Um for fear and protection of just being able to exist in my own body,
Mm,
right?
Thank you.
yeah,
No.
yeah, yep.
For those listening, Amber ended that with a thumbs down and a noise. Um, no, and thank you for sharing that. And it's fucked up. It's fucked up. I mean, even the idea that it's like it hasn't impacted my mental health so much as has impacted my career. It's
Mhm.
like, well, imagine the mental fortitude that you have to protect yourself from that. I mean, kudos to you for building it. It's so much of, I think, what everybody who's been on here is like, we're working to build that. We have to build that. That's like a human
Yeah.
need that other people require of us that even the average person doesn't
Well, now I'm
fucking
going to start
require.
over and
Oh, there
hit
it
record to
goes.
the cloud.
Evidently some fucking producer does. Lane, what are your
Right.
thoughts?
Well, I just want to say this, Amber. As a man, I have so many thoughts on your appearance and your body. No, I'm just kidding. I want to tell you, your biggest fan is right here, and I just want you to feel the love from the Ingrams. So, if I may, I'm just going to pan the.
Oh, yes.
Chloe, it's
We've got a
Amber.
little man
Little
and a
I've been
Chloe on
listening
the
to it on my
screen.
phone.
Lil Man, it's Amber. In the
Hey, little
voice
man.
of Lil Man, could we hear Lil Man say hello to Amber real quick?
Hey, Amber, I think you're beautiful.
Oh, cute little tongue. Oh, man. And also cannot wait to meet Foxy Lady.
Fox, yes, we have a new.
Oh,
We'll
you have
get
a
her.
new dog.
We have a new dog. We got to get Foxy Lady on the camera. No, Amber, you have. I can't even fathom what you have been through. I mean, you have probably forgotten more moments of like
Oh, sure.
your body being under scrutiny than I think the average, especially like straight white dude can even wrap their head around. You know what I mean? Like, oh, and here's Foxy Lady right now. Here we go. Here we go.
Oh, she is Foxy.
Oh, Foxy Lady. Oh my
Yeah. So
goodness.
we just, yeah, if anyone's listening to this and not on the, Twitch stream live, we adopted a second dog. So we now have, we're the people with multiple chihuahuas now.
How old is
So
this one?
this one is 9 years old and she's a
Oh.
rescue from the streets of San Antonio. And so we named her Foxy Lady because she looks like a fox. She has this like foxy look to her.
But
Um,
she is just so chill. Oh,
She's super chill. And Amber, part of the reason why I wanted to pan over and show the doggies is that Amber, you have such great dog karma. You and Lil Man are just like two peas in a pod. Yeah,
love my
he
little
loves,
man.
yeah. He loves hanging out with you. But no, my goodness, you reached out to us. We
Sunrise,
talked
sunset.
body image with
Tour.
Nathan. You sent us
And
this email, and you bring to us such unique perspective on the body stuff. And yeah, you mentioned, yeah, that the strength to be able to say like, I'm not allowing that toxicity to ruin my happiness, my joy, my day to day, but acknowledging that it may be affected your career trajectory. And
Yes.
yeah,
Well, and I
yeah.
think that's I sorry to interrupt you, but
No,
I
go
think
ahead.
that it's that if anything, it's probably more of a trauma response for me. That like I feel like the idea of strength would to be to be the person saying screw you, like I'm still gonna put myself out there. Like it doesn't feel like a strong position on my part. It
Mm.
very much feels like a self-protective move. Does that make sense?
I think so. Let me share this and tell me if this resonates. Like I've had the thought that like I remember when I was a kid and I was a kid, a chubby boy, as I've talked about on the podcast many times, worshiping John Belushi and Chris Farley and thinking, I would love to be like them someday or something. And then, um, I think to myself, I didn't go that route. I never moved to New York. I never moved to LA. I did live in Chicago, but I didn't stick it out up there. I never slept in my car trying to like hustle and make it like I will stop at nothing to be famous and doing that whole. And I think about like had I done that, might I have been, you know, uh, quote unquote rich and famous. And then I think about, I'm like, let's say I had gotten there. I was worshiping people who died at 33 years old, and I think about, had I made it, had all of my dreams come true, I I don't think I would have been happy. I really think I'm happier now living in Austin, doing what I do, doing this podcast, doing uh, uh, when I am on stage, it's it's not to a national television audience.
Mhm.
It's to the people in that room, and I think that is I think a better formula for happiness for me than had I chosen that route of like quote unquote like shooting for the stars kind of a thing. So like when you say preservate, like kind of protecting yourself, I think I relate to that, because I think like if I was the person who had to sit down with my agent and publicist and be like, well, the last movie made $200 million, and if this next movie doesn't equal that or top it, I'm fucking through. I'm a failure. Like that sort of like your whole worth rides on all of these factors outside your control. I mean, I'm that person who like I have empathy and sympathy for fucking some of those movie stars, especially the female movie stars. It's like the amount of scrutiny they're under anytime they, just any change that they make to their physical appearance, everyone's going to be
Yeah.
talking about it. And I'm just like, and being, I don't know. Anyway, I'm babbling at this point, but did any of that make sense or resonate, Amber?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I, I mean, I think that like one thing that is true about me, because the thing that I came to realize about playing the ingenue is like those are bullshit parts 9 times out of 10. They're not they're not the fun, juicy roles, right? And
Yeah.
even though it was coming from a place of like, "Oh, that's something that's unattainable to me," that, like, very quickly I was like, "Oh, great. Yeah, you can have it," right? And so there's sort of this dichotomy in the world of theater of like you're a chorus boy or you're a leading man or you're a that like you have that every actor kind of has their prime season,
Yeah.
and that for some people it is being the vivacious young twinkie, like cute thing that then when they start to age out of it can cause some real despair for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
But then there's also so many people like me who never quite fit into any of those roles until we start to get older, until we start to age a little bit. And like I feel like I'm just now starting to really hit my stride of being
Yes.
able to like dig into these roles, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
like I can only hope that, because it feels like I've lost 20 years of my career, right? It's easy for that narrative to spin itself in my own brain. Um but I also feel like around the time that I moved to Austin is right when I actually started hitting my stride for like what I'm capable of doing to start matching up with the roles that I'm playing. Because in high school and in college, I was always the mother and the grandmother and Lady Bracknell in The Importance of Being Earnest. And, you know, like all of these roles that were it not in a collegiate atmosphere, I would be entirely too young to play. And so then I kind of entered into this void after college because I was like, well, I want to audition for Lady Bracknell. I loved that role,
Yeah.
right? But I was 22.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying because, like, I don't know. I've seen you in a variety of roles. My favorite was Psycho Bitch with Gun in The Secretary, or that's what it was called, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Or yeah. And it's like, yeah, like to obviously they did make you less attractive in that part. You're a beautiful woman who they did dress down somewhat. Um,
I
but
love
it's like
every second of it.
I hear exactly what you're saying, where it's like, yeah, I would rather play that than beautiful. It's like, yeah, it's way more fun. Also, I mean, just, I don't know. It's always weird to provide context on these podcasts where we're talking body image because I feel like people kind of want to know how much they relate. Amber is traditionally hot. I just want to mention that once. She's one of those traditionally hot people who isn't a size zero. Not to say, I mean, I think everything you're
Oh
saying is
man.
valid for like any size above whatever TV says is okay. But I just do want to reference like all of this is so bizarre in the context of seeing you. You know what I mean?
That's incredible to be like, again, that is not the lens that I see myself in. You know, like that is just so hilarious to me.
Chloe laughing in a way that somehow agrees with us, but is rude.
Yeah, Chloe, what you're on a what are you laughing at? Oh, she's a few
Thank
seconds
you, Twitch
behind.
delay.
So she's laughing. Yeah, she's laughing at your funny vocalization there, Amber.
Oh man. But thank you. Yes. I mean it's you know, it's like I don't know. The thing that I loved about The Secretary so much
Not the same
is
plot as
that,
the movie The Secretary. Go on.
oh, I know. My favorite thing when I told people that that's the show that I was working on, they were like the movie, and I was like, yeah, I'm the desk. I play the desk and the tree.
Also, I gotta point out, Amber, I love the set, the lighting, and this like this
Oh, thank you.
mojo that you have right here, this zoom mojo, the lighting and that backdrop you have. Everything looks awesome. I feel like you're coming to us from like a David Lynch movie right now
From
or
like a
something.
void. I know. I need yeah, it's an ever evolving. Oh my gosh. These are the 1 hour till air. Oh, it's so dark in here. You can hardly see them.
Oh,
These are the
it's
1 hour till air curtains.
whoa,
Oh.
put those in the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
We never
Oh,
even
yeah.
mentioned that the way we know Amber is that her not husband is the creative director of ColdTowne Theater. But it's not important because you're your own person. But that is roughly how we know you.
I'll claim him.
You're not husband who you're not married to, but you have been together with since roughly September 11th, 2001.
Ayo. Yeah.
It's always how I describe it.
Yeah. Perfect.
You two are quite the power couple, though. You are the power couple that all power couples must be judged by. In the gauntlet. No,
I don't know. I mean, I feel like Chloe.
I.
Like, oh man. Yeah.
Uh,
There are
but
so
no,
many, so many good power couples. That was
no,
good.
I think I know we're getting kind of close to our traditional sign off time, but Amber, I feel like the Austin scene, we're so lucky to have you here. Of all the places you could have chosen, to all of the places you and Will could have gone to, I'm so glad you are here. And
Oh,
clearly I mean, yeah, I guess maybe I don't know if this is a weird question to sort of start winding down on, but like, yeah, how would you describe kind of what it's like, I don't know, being in a place like Austin? Do you feel like you're able to be do what you enjoy doing, and do you feel happy and fulfilled here, I hope?
yes. Yeah. I we kind of ended up here because I had come here in 2007 and because Will was working with a guy at UCB that had just moved from Austin. He grew up here and we found ourselves with the option of leaving New York. We had contracts had ended, lease was up, roommates were moving out, and we were like, "Oh, we have like clean break, you know?" And and this guy that Will was working with at UCB was like, "Hey, I heard you guys are thinking about moving. Y'all should move to Austin. I think you'd really like it there." And Will came home and was like, "Should we move to Austin?" It was like, "We're moving to Austin." And it was a gamble of we could live anywhere for a year, right? Like we could live anywhere for a year. We can find jobs. We can, we'll find some way to support ourselves. And um and then 2-3 months in, we were like, I think we did it in one. I think we found the right place, right? And I feel like Austin has been such a good fit for us, and I'm so grateful for every opportunity I've had here and every connection we've made here and the friends that have become chosen family. And like we've gotten so much excuse me, out of our time here. But I do have some pretty serious concerns about the sustainability of it on the other side of this pandemic. Like, I would love to set down roots here, but the more I look into purchasing a home or, like there's so much insecurity in what I do even in the before times here that I'm nervous about what that will translate into um on the other side of this. But I
You
love
know,
it.
yeah, you know what we got to do. Well, here's the thing. Let's all move in together. Katie, you and Sanjay just come on back. We'll have a 6-person compound.
Listen,
No,
we can get 20 acres like just outside of town. I'm just
yes,
saying.
Lockhart.
It has to be
Lockhart,
Homestead this.
7 people, but go on.
Lockhart will be the Brooklyn of Austin. No, I don't. Uh, yeah, Lockhart is the next Williamsburg.
Yeah.
The Austin airport is the next Dumbo. We all have to live at the airport. I'm sorry, I'm off on it. But no, it's here's what I hope, that post-pandemic it'll be like vaudeville 1920s, roaring 20s America post World War One and
Yes.
the Spanish flu. My hope is that as the world starts to fully get back to normal, and I'm not saying to Alex in the chat, yes, my heart goes out to the people of Ontario, and I don't want anyone rushing into anything. Nobody fuck around. Don't listen to Abbott and Ted Cruz. Just everybody chill out.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say, even if it's a year from now, 2022, 2022, if we could just have maybe 8, 10 years of awesomeness, just like a resurgence
Renaissance, yes.
of yeah, because I'm thinking like, okay, everyone was just so excited to be in a theater with live performance, and then the birth of vaudeville and Houdini, magic, then the birth of cinema and everyone going out to the cinema. And I think even during the Great Depression, people still found a way to go to the movies every week. People, it was like 2/3 of the entire country would go to the movies at least once a week, even during the Great Depression.
The
It's like people,
most recession proof business that we killed.
yeah. So anyway, I hope that there will be a resurgence. We need actors and artists and writers working again. I've clung to this fact since I heard it. So forgive me, but it's when the fascists win is when they start marginalizing artists and performers. That's the
Yeah.
sign that things are headed towards fascism. So if
Yeah.
you ever need to question whether or not to support the arts, just remember that we need the arts
Yeah.
to have. That's what the cult. That's what moves culture and preserves culture right there. So anyway, Amber,
But
what's your
also,
Venmo? Let's.
if
I
I
mean,
can, but also to tag on to that, that like, yes, yes, support the arts, but I am in my deepest hope of hopes, hoping that, um, that we can support and uplift and finally give stage time to uh stories of black voices and voices,
yes,
people of color, like
yes,
that,
yes.
like we're primed so much to re-enter with a clean slate, that like,
Yeah.
come on, producers.
Yeah.
Like,
Vote with your views. It's
yeah,
such a
exactly,
valid thing.
exactly.
And even like what we're watching now, I was really moved when because Bowen Yang gave that really great speech on SNL the other night, and
Ooh,
he ended
yes.
it with "Save Kim's convenience," and it's like such a like simple thing that we can do at home. You can fucking just watch Kim's Convenience on Netflix,
Mhm.
and that gives it a view that wouldn't be there otherwise. So no, I appreciate your
Oh,
saying that.
thank you for Chloe and I rewound that. We could not make out what he said right there. So that's what he said. I
Mm,
actually rewound that a couple times, and I did not realize that's what he was saying. Okay, so I'm an old man. I don't know what Kim's Convenience is, but we're watching it
on Netflix.
tonight.
It's a family sitcom. I mean,
Okay.
Fresh Off the Boat was incredible too. I think it's over now by a ways, but like, yeah, just these things that are representing voices that aren't usually there. Fucking
Yeah.
Yes.
watch
And
something that's not you.
yeah, and like if I were to plug anything, it would be the We See You White American Theater movement collective.
Oh.
If you're not familiar, please do dig into it. They
Oh,
are gracious, brave, courageous leaders that are paving the way for all of us to be able to have a more equitable,
Oh.
diverse
Wow. One more
space
time. What was
life.
it?
We See You White American Theater. So that's
Wow.
WSYWAT.com.
Awesome. Okay. And how
Yeah.
about, is there anything else you would like to plug? And feel free to be selfish. God knows I
and maybe
am.
a
Uh,
selfish plug as well.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't make every media. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been my um we've I I have just done my first live stream over there. And we're constantly taking projects and editing them down into delicious little uh nuggets that we then put up on our YouTube and website and Twitch channel and all of that. So if you have any virtual needs that aren't dirty, that are you know, we're kind of bridging that gap between live events and virtual gatherings and finding the way that those can shake hands to be safe and accessible for everybody. That's kind of ended up being our main focus over this past year. But
Okay, and then
yeah.
one final question. What's the most embarrassing thing you can tell us about William Cleveland?
Oh man. Um God, he's just so funny that
No, not
it's hard to say, like I feel like he's just so in command of who he is. Oh man, embarrassing thing.
sorry.
Yeah, I really
It's a tough one. Really? Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, Will Cleveland is a perfect individual, but we knew that
person.
already.
Well,
Um,
I will say this. I will say this. And it's not even embarrassing, but it's just so damn endearing to me. Years ago, we were visiting his family in Arkansas for Christmas, and we were at his grandma Grace's house, and
And
she
he
has
ran over a kid. I would just love it if, like, oh,
uh
here's a funny story. We're driving along. Will runs over a child, and we just kept
no.
driving.
So he was out back playing with the kids. I think they were playing hide and seek. And Grandma Grace had one of those storm cellars that was like a mound, sort of like half underground. And
Oh
then,
yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean?
Oh
And
yeah.
so apparently he was running to home base and decided to like shortcut over the storm cellar. And then as he was running down, like momentum got ahead of him and he came down and landed on his shoulder, and his shoulder dislocated in three, like all three
Whoa.
ligaments dislocated. It was a nasty, nasty ordeal. But Will just came inside and I was standing in the kitchen with all of the other women, right? Um, and he came inside and just very calmly walked up to me and said, "I need to go to the emergency room."
that's him.
That
That's him.
yeah, that's him.
That's him.
And I said, "Okay." And
Okay.
like and just the two of us immediately started going into emergency room triage crisis mode, right? And everybody thought it was such a funny joke that he was making.
God, that's
Like they
great.
were like, he's such a kidder, but like clearly had grass stains and mud all down this arm. Was like holding it.
Wow.
Was like
Chloe
holding
thinks
his
this is
arm.
great.
Yeah.
Chloe thinks it's funny that Will hurt himself.
Well, and it's
Chloe's a
one of those
bad person.
I could just hear Will saying that.
Yeah. Just so calm. I need to go to the emergency room. Okay. Let's get you to the emergency room.
That's great.
But
That's
everybody
great.
thought like he was doing a bit because he's so funny.
Amber, you're amazing. This has been wonderful. Katie, did I forget anything, or anything you wanted to ask Amber?
No, I do think we have to wrap up. I personally have to
Yeah.
go back to work tonight, which is fucking
Oh
bullshit.
no.
No, it's no big deal. But just so you know, hey, I've been so terrible about actually plugging the important resources we reference on this podcast because I'm forgetful that I did go ahead and just post the We See You White American Theater link on our Facebook page. So that is there. If you
Awesome.
heard
Thank
it, you're
you.
listening to this later on, even if you have to scroll a little bit, it's going to be there on our Facebook page. Our episode, I've learned that we have literally never mentioned when our episodes come out. They do come out on Fridays, sometime during the day on Friday. We don't pay anyone enough for it to be the same time every Friday, but if you like and subscribe, it will appear probably before your commute home. And isn't that what we all need?
Yeah. Also,
Amber,
write us reviews. I feel
yes,
like we
write us
need more.
reviews.
We need more of those actual written reviews and whatnot. I'm sorry I interrupted. Amber you've been amazing. Amber, you're just wonderful.
Yeah.
Look, if Will ever does anything, we will just all collectively, we're gonna have words with Will, because you, Amber, you're amazing. If Will just ever just text
we're
Katie
closing,
and I.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm
Do we need to
like
set Will straight
flashing
on
back
anything?
to
Yeah.
All right.
family time. We're closing in on 19 years, so
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
think-
Good. Yes. Okay.
I
Okay.
think it's probably more of a if I don't mess it up.
Okay. There we go.
At
Good.
this
Good.
point.
Yes. We need no. You help make Austin. You and Will help give Austin a sense of home.
20
I think. Of what? What did he say?
20 years.
20 years?
Thank you,
Did Will
pandemic.
just say that from outside the curtain?
I just heard the door like 20.
What a soft-spoken.
I was
What
thinking,
a
Yeah,
kind
he
man.
literally
we are
said
actually
2001.
we have entered into the year of 2040 for the two of us, where we will both be what Will has just turned 40. I will turn 40, and then we will celebrate our 20th anniversary,
Whoa.
which feels like a
That's
big,
amazing. 20
year.
years.
2040.
That is crazy.
Incredible.
Okay. Y'all are an inspiration. Never leave Austin. And
If there's a sponsor out there that wants to buy us a house,
yeah.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining us, Amber. This has been amazing. I'd like to plug the Chihuahua Rescue Organization, who helps Chihuahuas from kill shelters. Oh yeah, I should mention this in every episode, and I apologize that I don't, but Austin Integral Care, great mental health resource, and 512-472-HELP, great Austin mental health crisis line. But no, thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Preston, and Katie. Thank you again for just carrying the weight of the show these last couple of weeks while I sorted some stuff out. But this has been so much fun, kind of getting back to things. So yeah, like and subscribe, and keep listening to all the good ColdTowne radio stuff, Victrola, and all the fun things. Stool Pigeon.
Night Under the Stars. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you one more time to Amber. Check out our Facebook page for those links we referenced. And have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you both.
Yay.